Hey, anatomy students, welcome back. This is the last 4 slides of notes. I apologize. I should have got these out to you sooner. I'm going to email you today and let you know that you don't have to take the test today since I didn't get these on soon enough. It's been a crazy week. So if you take it Friday or Monday, whenever you're ready, as long as you get done by Monday, I'll have it up. I'll email you the passcode, and when you're ready, take the test. And I truly mean this, guys. I'm just assuming that you're going to not look at your notes. So please abide by that and take it just like all the rest of my students are taking tests. And it'll be online. It'll be on Google Forms. So let's talk about skin real quick. So let's kind of wrap things up. So skin, the area of skin in an average size adult is about 17 square feet, which is kind of crazy. So if you would take all your skin, it sounds kind of gross, but you take all your skin and lay it out on the floor, you'd have 17 to 20 square feet. The thickness varies a lot, about 1/50 to 1/8. So the smaller your back would be about a eighth of an inch. Over the top of your knuckles would be about 1/50th of an inch. So it comes and goes. There's areas of thick skin and thin skin. And the function of skin is to protect, temperature regulate, and sensations, obviously touch and pain and that kind of thing. So we divide skin up into basically 2 layers, the cutaneous and the subcutaneous or superficial fascia. And by the way, that is a test question a lot of people miss. There's subcutaneous tissue, and superficial fascia is the same thing. So let's start with the top layers. The epidermis is your outer thinner layer, and then right below it is the inner thicker layer called the dermis. That's the cutaneous part. And then the subcutaneous is down below that. So if you look at skin, which we're going to do right here. We talked about this already, and this is why I threw this chapter in with the rest of it. It is the epithelial tissue we've been talking about earlier, stratified squamous, which is that flat pancake-like cells that you see, very thin. Only about 1/200th of an inch is the epidermis, not very thick. But here's what's crazy, is there's basically several layers jammed in that 1/200th of an inch. So if you look at let me scroll down here a little bit. If you look at the color sheet you guys worked on, and by the way, I'll go over that in a minute because there are some diagrams on this test. That's why I would kind of hold off taking it until tomorrow or Monday, because I didn't go over this with you guys like I did in my class. But here's what we're talking about. There's the stratum corneum. That's all dead cells that flake off the surface. So if you sunburn yourself, that would just flake off and peel off. And then these 2 layers right here, stratum lucidum is a very thin layer. Granulosum is a very thin layer. And you won't even find them in some areas of your skin. Thin skin, you won't even find those. And then we got the stratum spinosum and stratum basal. And then the dermis down here, you can see the difference in colorations of these layers. So now understand, this is really blown up, and you have a color sheet on this too. This is 1/200th of an inch we're talking about right here. That's insane how thin that is, okay? So when you look at the definitions, let's look at that. So the definitions are pretty straightforward on this. So the stratum corneum is dead. It has a purpose. It protects us. It water repels. Think of this. What would our life be if our skin didn't repel water? Every time you took a shower, every time you go out in the rain, you gain weight like a sponge. So obviously, we don't have it. That doesn't happen. The stratum corneum repels that water off our surface. That's why water beads up on your skin. Okay. The stratum lucidum is a layer that has something called eludin, which forms keratin, which is water repellent. Now, some thin areas lack this layer, but it just produces the same stuff your fingernails and that type of stuff is made of keratin. That's what waterproofs. So what happens is skin works its way up to the surface, and as it does, we waterproof it. So by the time it gets up to the stratum corneum, it's water repellent. Okay. The granulosum, that's where the cells die. So these 2 layers are missing in some parts of your skin. Okay. And the important ones are down here at the bottom. So the last layer is a stratum basal or germinativum. I like germinativum for, I know it's not on your diagram, but To germinate means to be born, and that's where the skin's actually, that's where skin cells undergo mitosis. This is where we're replacing ones that flake off the corneum. Very, very important layer. So when we talk about burns, which we will when we do our first aid stuff, 3rd degree burns past this layer. Now you don't replace any skin that's lost. So now you got to go over and find skin that has that layer intact and graft it onto that person so that skin cells will then start reproducing again. All right. So a lot of things in that 1/200th of an inch. And look at your diagrams. That's on your test. You need to know what each one of these look like and what they do. All right. The dermis is below that. That's called the true skin. It's more fibrous connective tissue. It is not epithelial, not squamous. The important part of this layer is the papillary and reticular. There's 2 parts to this, not as many layers. Where the dermis and the epidermis glue together. We talked about tight joints and desmosomes earlier in notes, okay? Where we glue these together, that forms a ridge, and that's what makes your fingerprints. So the papillary layer of the dermis on the bottom and the epithelial epidermis on top, where that glues together, that forms a ridge, and that's where you get your fingerprints, okay? A lot of controversy with how fingerprints are formed. The new theory that's out there, the current theory is, as we're developing as an embryo, we press our fingers against the uterus, and that as that's forming, that makes these unique ridges. We still identify people that way. That's still a thing. We use a lot of DNA evidence now. And there's all kinds of different patterns of this, which I think is fascinating. And you can look at your own fingers, but you have all these different things. And the FBI will, if they're doing fingerprint analysis, they actually split your fingerprint up into regions. I'll show you that in a minute. But we have arches, 10 arches, which are a little steeper, loops where it spins and loops around on top of each other, a double loop, a pocked loop, a whirl, and then a lot of people have a combination, what we call mixed. And you can see that the FBI's database will divide us into different categories, and that's how they identify people. So it's just because a lot of us have the same patterns, but no one has the exact. Here's a good picture of it. You can see all the different parts that the FBI would look at, and it's all computerized, and it comes up with a 99% match or whatever. So, still used, still part of our criminal investigations and things like that. Not as good as DNA evidence, obviously, but it still works. Okay. Stretch marks is the other layer below the papillary. It has elastic fiber in it. And what happens in pregnancy and people that are obese or whatever, they stretch their skin so much that these stretch marks, they snap, just like a rubber band would snap. And then that will leave behind a scar, which is unsightly. It's not a health issue, but it is something a lot of people don't like to look at. So millions of dollars is spent in the Hollywood industry removing things like this. This is stretch marks. You can see it's not fun to look at. They're kind of look like spider webs, look like purple marks sometimes in people. But it is something that, some people don't like the looks of, especially Hollywood, and they spend millions of dollars to get rid of them. All right. So that's the big thing with the dermis is stretch marks and fingerprints. That's the importance of it and how we glue those down. The last thing I'll cover, and then we'll call it good, is the rule of the nines. And I had you do an assignment on that. So watch that video because it explains a little more in detail than what I'm going to go into. But the rule of the nines is simply, how do we diagnose someone? So when they say someone's burned over 70% of their body, that's not just an arbitrary number they come up with. It actually depends on how much skin is destroyed. So 9% of the skin covers the head and upper extremities. 18% covers the front and back of the trunk. So 9% on the front, 9% on the back for 18 total. Same way through legs, front and back. And then 1% is the midline. So watch that video. It kind of goes through that a little bit more, but it's just a way of diagnosing, how the body is divided up, the skin, and that way we can assess someone who comes in, because prognosis and treatment is dependent upon how much damaged skin is there, what percent. I'm not going to play the videos for you. I'm going to put this online today. In fact, I'll do it in just a second, and you can look through the slides, watch the videos if you'd like, especially the laser hair removal is kind of cool. So I'll let you kind of look at some of those and not waste your time here on that, but you can look at it. So I put the Kahoot game. We did a review game yesterday. You can look at it, but please don't take the test until you're ready. So I'll leave it open. I'll have it open Friday. Same password. I'll have it open Monday. And same password. As long as you get it in by Monday, then I'll put your grade in. So whenever you're ready, I apologize. I should have had this video out sooner. That's on me. I'll do a little better job next chapter, and we will hopefully start in on a new chapter next week. So I also will put some color sheets on there. You can run off or come into school. I know some of you come in and get them. That's fine, because I'm going to tell you the next test is all diagrams. Okay. Now, before I go, let me do one more thing for you. So for the test, when you're studying for the test, the diagrams you need to know, okay? So from your color sheets, you need to know these top 4, okay? The squamous, cuboidal, columnar, and transitional, okay? I think this is actually an old color sheet, but you just got to identify them. I'm just going to put one on there, and you say it's squamous, cuboidal, columnar, transitional. Those 4 will be on there. Then there's a couple on there that then I'll put a couple of these on there as well. Like same thing. You just tell me it's adipose. I didn't put irregular on, just regular, adipose, and areolar. So 3 instead of 4. Okay. So the epithelial, squamous, cuboidal, columnar, transitional, adipose, areolar, and dense regular. And the only other thing you need to look over is this picture down here in the corner. Don't worry about the rest. Okay. Just this one down here at the bottom. No stratum corneum, lucidum, and those different layers. Okay. And the nice thing is, I've never been able to do this in the past, but now they're all colored in. So I think it'll be easier than a black and white picture. All right. So that should cover everything. So when you're ready, take the test. I'll send you an email with the password. And when you are ready, take that test either tomorrow or Monday. Or if you watch the video today and later today, you feel like, hey, I can take this. It's not that big a deal. That's up to you. So look at the review game, look at your diagrams, and we'll call it good. So, hey, have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you later. See you. Bye.